Welcome back to Mice Infinity. Just because Wily has been defeated doesn't mean that there aren't any more things to do. There's quite a few more things to cover. For example, the game actually does not soft lock after the presented by Capcom screen like all other games. There is a pretty cool thing that happens right after the screen. Specifically, this hero score tally. This screen basically grades you on how well you did in the game. Mission is 63 points. Friends is plus 5 points for if you rescued Rush, and another 5 for beat, and plus 5 for keeping Eddie alive, which I'll talk about later. Equipment is plus 2 for each item you obtain. Playstyle, you get more points in that category based on how fast you beat the game. And bonus is a variety of things, such as beating the secret boss, not causing the spikes to turn green in the escape sequence, and leaving Toadman alive after you turn him into a toad with Toad Spell in Wily 3. Playstyle specifically, you always get at least 6 points, and more points are added up, and you get 10 out of 10 if you complete the game within 100 minutes. I have not gotten a hero score of 100 to this date because I cannot complete the game in under 100 minutes for the life of me. Speaking of the secret boss, you can fight him by not dying at all the way until the third Chimera bot in Wily 3. Then this happens. I absolutely fucking despise the secret boss, and it is quite possibly the worst thing in the entire game, bar one other secret. This boss is the epitome of cheap bullshit. Super Shadow Man here has tons of attacks, at least 20, quite a few that instantly kill you, and all of his attacks completely ignore your already almost non-existent invincibility frames. And that's not even scratching the surface. A lot of his attacks involve shooting bullets everywhere, and some of his attacks can even drain your weapon energy. If you die to Super Shadow Man at all, you're completely locked out of him and cannot fight him again, so hope you had a save state ready. And to top it all off, he has 112 hit points and no weakness. I honestly have no idea what the fuck Hearsay was thinking when he decided to make this piece of shit. This game just has tons of good design decisions, and while there may be a few slip-ups here and there in the design department, this is just awful. I cannot think of any redeeming qualities of this boss. Unless you're a huge fan of Phantom from Mega Man Zero, because Shadow Man takes a ton of attacks from that guy. Once 3/4 of his life bar is gone, the faults of the boss really start to show. Shadow Man starts spamming shurikens everywhere, and these drain your health extremely quickly. One attack can easily take off at least 8 points of your health bar, or how much the shuriken feels like taking off. And touching Shadow Man will usually result in him grappling you and throwing you at a wall. Heck, if he feels like it, he'll grapple you and pull out an instant kill shuriken. It really says something about a boss when I fail more times against this boss than I did on the recordings of all of the other stages combined. This entire fight is a miserable, frustrating mess. I'm just going to spare you the next 20 seconds of me getting murdered by the boss, and then show what you get for beating this horrible crap. For beating this boss, you get to watch Shadow Man horribly die. Hooray! He also drops a Yasichi and the most intentionally broken thing in the game. This is the question mark dagger, or as I like to call it, the dagger. It makes all of your hits turn into critical hits, so you can spend the rest 5 minutes of the game absolutely murdering everything. It's so powerful that you'll be able to beat the Wily Capsule in seconds, and you won't even need the Wily Buster to take down the Petit Robot Masters. I personally don't think it's worth any of the stress required to get it, though. Alright, now let's go kill more people. Like Eddie! Use the Recycle Inhaler on Eddie and you actually kill him! And get the Energy Splitter, which is basically an upgraded energy balancer. Instead of the weapon energy going to one of the weapons, it goes to all of them. However, killing Eddie is a very dumb idea. In stages like Cossack 1 and Wily 2, Eddie will no longer show up to warn you about where enemies are coming or where you should go to avoid traps. And in any stages where he appears, he will not show up to give you items. Now, about the Rush Cannon dodges. Each of the Robot Masters has their own special way of dodging Rush Cannon. Equip Rush Cannon while fighting Toadman and he will just stick to the ceiling. This is probably the worst of the Rush Cannon dodges. Ringman will constantly run to the opposite side of the arena, and once you fire off Rush Cannon, he'll just jump over it. Equipping Rush Cannon against Drillman will just make him go underground and throw a temper tantrum. Man will shoot more projectiles when Rush Cannon is equipped, and will teleport out of the way right before Rush Cannon hits him. When Rush Cannon's equipped, Dive Man will just constantly shoot water cutters and will just deflect Rush Cannon entirely. Skull Man uses extreme skate tricks to dodge Rush Cannon. When Rush Cannon is equipped, Dustman will blow you away at a very high speed, and firing it will just make Dustman deflect it back at you and kill you. You can still dodge it though. Still waste your weapon energy. And now for obviously the best dodge of them all. Well, what else were you expecting out of Rockman, the smartest Robot Master? Oddly, if you go and fight any of the Robot Masters in Wily 3, they will not perform the Rush Cannon dodges, so you can kill them in one hit with ease. As soon as I can actually get it to hit Dustman. Zip, there we go. None of the Fortress bosses besides Snatchman and Bullet Hell Mothraeus have Rush Cannon dodges, but most of them have different phases, so Rush Cannon will usually only skip a phase. A while back I mentioned you could destroy Joe, Nina, and Baal's shield, and here is that. And also killing him with Rush Cannon very easily. And now for a much needed boss addendum. Bullet Hell Mothraeus actually has a lot more to it than I originally had thought. This boss has a gimmick where some of its bullets are fake. Every other bullet spray will not actually hit you. This is a really dumb gimmick, but it is a lot easier than I had originally thought it to be. You could also destroy the eyes and the tail separately, removing the swirling bullet and the tail chasing you attacks respectively. It does make the fight a whole lot easier, but it doesn't necessarily save it from being bad. Rush Jet's slow as hell speed is still a problem dodging the real bullets. And as far as I know, it still doesn't really have a weakness. I was told that it was Spark Mambo, but it's no more effective than Drill Torpedo. Probably the most effective weapon on it would be Pharaoh Shotgun, because its spread is wide enough to hit all three of its parts in one fully charged shot. Also, trying to use any of the rush abilities on Bullet Hell Mothraeus will just play an error sound. There's also a couple interesting things about Snatchman that I didn't show off in the original Wily 2 video. You can turn him into a Toad and a R-Can with Toad Spells and Recycle Inhaler respectively, and if you touch him when he's in these states, you'll deal 1 damage to him and you won't take any damage. You can also just use Rush Cannon right on him in the first phase and instantly kill him. And when he's sucking up your weapons from the ceiling, he will not accept the Mega Buster, any of the Rush abilities, Wire, or Balloon. If you give Snatchman Toad Spell or the Recycle Inhaler in the second phase, he can turn you into a Toad or Arcan with those respective abilities. Also in the second phase, Rush gets kinda confused when you try to summon him. And it's not just for Rush Cannon either. Rush will also get confused with Rush Search and Wish Star. You can end up healing Snatchman if Rush Search digs up a health pellet. One last thing about Snatchman, you can cheese this boss very easily. Back in Wily 3, I constantly talked about the true weaknesses of bosses. These are basically the designated weaknesses, or the intended ones. Brightman's weakness is HCR Boomerang, Ringman's true weakness is Hell Wheel, and Drillman's true weakness is Water Cutter. The true weaknesses are bound to kill them extremely fast, maybe faster than any other weapon, but some don't kill them that fast. For example, Toadman's true weakness against Pharaoh Shotgun. Pharaohman's true weakness is Drill Torpedo, which I already used against Pharaohman, but for the sake of consistency, I just recorded all of the boss fights again. This fight probably takes the longest just because of the amount of sequences involved in this boss. This was already shown, but Dustman's true weakness is Toad Spell. Nineman's true weakness is Spark Mambo. The most effective way to use that is to just hold it out right in front of him. And Skullman's true weakness is Recycle Inhaler, which was already shown. It's pretty easy to run out of ammo for this weapon before you can finish Skullman off. Here's a part of the game I really did not show off. The help menu. You can get to this menu by pressing shoot on the pause menu, and it will give you full descriptions of every single weapon and item you have. Not only does it sometimes give you good information on the weapons, it also has some ridiculous English in it, such as the beautiful phrase in the Recycle Inhaler description, "Let's inhale various things." When he hits the enemy or wall, grand explosion occurs. Now back to the Dustman Trash Compactor Room, which is a reference to the Cube Rush from Gradius 3. There is actually an interesting thing about this room that I did not know. Descendo Fox in the essay thread pointed out, and I quote, "Blocks can only move left, down, or at a 45-degree downward angle. This means that the higher and further left you are in the room, the less likely you are to be hit. This also means that the set of safe zones is also pretty extensive as the room fills." I tested this, and this is actually true. So my main problem with the room now is that the blocks deal way too much damage. They kill you extremely quickly if you mess up too much. Fun fact, if you go back to Pharaohman's stage after you've defeated Pharaohman, the pyramid will be destroyed because Pharaohman started tearing it down in the battle with him. If you somehow die to the Pateroma Masters, which is extremely hard considering the Wily Buster reduces all damage to 1, you will come right back to the room right before the boss gates, except it is no longer a womb-level facade, and rather the area it actually is. And you keep the Wily Buster. I accidentally claimed in Wily 4 that this cutscene had correct English. It doesn't. I mentioned in the same video that if you died 3 times, the spikes would turn green and you would get more time. Here's that in action. It definitely makes this section a whole lot more tolerable, especially for players who aren't good at using Hell Wheel. And if you were wondering, this is how the ending looks if you end up not rescuing Rush. And to end off this big video, let's finally take a closer look at Brightman and his 10 different attacks. I don't even know. I tried to do this fight buster only, but it really just exemplifies the horrible balancing of the special weapons and the buster in this game. Like Skullman and most of the other bosses for that matter, Brightman has a full 2 seconds of invincibility frames. And on top of that, a good amount of his attacks reflect your buster shots, including the straight-firing light bulbs. If you want to buster duel most of the bosses, you're probably going to have to use an E-Tank, because they'll be able to rack up damage on you in way less time than you'll be able to rack up damage on them. The thing that I really like about this boss, though, is that his attacks get completely switched up in critical mode. Instead of becoming faster, he pulls out new attacks. Like the triple exploding arcing light bulbs. That just looks really silly to me, seeing light bulbs spinning through the air and exploding on contact with the ground. And that's all I decided to show off. I'm Storm Pyro, and thank you for watching. Tune in next time for hell!